It's society's mistake for giving us such unrealistic standards that a real woman could never achieve. Hello beautiful minds! Welcome to my channel. I am Saika, and today I'd like to share to you my experience and thoughts on the fat positivity movement. So just to put a disclaimer here, I'm going to be interchangeably using fat positivity and body positivity. And that's because most of their meanings online are quite blurred, but I do believe there's a stark difference. So if you guys don't know what these movements are, please do research about them beforehand because I won't be going into what they are and the like. So please do search them up. So without further ado, let's get into it. Being a fat girl most of my life, it's almost to be expected that I would eventually be part of the fat positivity movement simply because I can relate to them physically. I would say I was around 18 or 19 when I heard more about the movement and I got really into it. Often these kinds of communities are quite niche because they only cater to a subgroup that is not the norm in current society. So to me, the fat positivity movement became a shelter that would accept me and completely understand what I was going through. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys the main beliefs that I got and learned from the fat positivity movement. First, you are beautiful just the way you are, roles and all. I think this is the most marketed and preached statement in the whole fat positivity movement. And just by that phrase alone, I still would completely agree. Everyone is beautiful just the way they are. Being insecure because of my weight and because I didn't look like the usual 18 or 19-year-olds at that time, I couldn't help but feel undesirable and ugly. That statement alone lifted that feeling of being unwanted. If you go into the fat positivity movement, looking into the examples of like Tess Holiday, who is like the queen, and other fat influencers who could do whatever they want, wear whatever they want, not giving a frick about what other people say, it really boosted my confidence and belief in making me feel like, hey, I'm not an anomaly, I'm normal, I'm beautiful just the way I am, and I can wear whatever I want. In time, that kind of thinking made me comfortable in my own skin. I would experiment in whatever I wanted to wear. It made me experiment more in general and frick the rules that say I can't. I could really say that at that time, it made me feel liberated in my own skin and just in occupying a bigger space with my fat body. It made me think, hey, if they could rock it, I could rock it. I wasn't fat, I was curvy and desirable. Second, there's nothing wrong with you. The world is at fault. Obviously, even if I felt comfortable in my own skin, there were still outside comments that kept coming at me. That's unavoidable. But if anything, the fat positivity movement teaches you that it's not you that's wrong. It's the world and all their comments, those are all fat-phobic. It's society's mistake for giving us such unrealistic standards that a real woman could never achieve. When I'm fat-shamed, it's the world that's wrong, not me. And to this day, I still believe in that. Fat-shaming is wrong. However, when I was in the fat positivity movement, even criticisms that, looking back, weren't necessarily fat-shaming, I lumped into the category of being fat-shaming and fat-phobic. Everyone was wrong. It was my body, my feelings, and frick everyone else who thought otherwise. Third, diets don't work. So according to the fat positivity movement, and this is one of the things that they greatly and massively, no pun intended, preach, 95% of diets do not work. And if you do diet, that's gonna lead to an ED. For the most part at that time, I believed in everything that they said. And I thought that fad diets were simply all the diets that were out there for you. They were all bad, they were all not good, and I'd rather be eating than starve myself. It won't have any long-term effect, so why am I suffering if at the end of the day, it won't give me long-term results? I was the one who was being good because I was feeding my body, and not like all these thin women who were starving themselves. That was exactly what my mindset was like. So overall, these main beliefs translated into my everyday actions. I would dress in whatever I wanted, don't believe what the naysayers are saying, and just eat whatever the frick I wanted. Health is subjective, and because I believe and know I'm healthy, then hell yeah, I'm healthy. It was my many wake-up calls and the lockdown that really pushed me to try to work out. So as you guys know, and if you don't, please watch my other videos. Because of some medical scares, I decided that it was time to lose a few pounds. To be honest, it wasn't until I guess around 6 months in my weight loss journey that I really started to see the fat positivity movement for what it was, and slowly started to detach myself from them. It was also during this time that I finally admitted to myself what I truly felt when I was still fat. First, the whole movement was based on feelings over facts. For example, I was healthy. In truth, I was 60 to 70 pounds overweight, and although I didn't have diabetes, high blood pressure, and other more serious illnesses, I still had a lot of medical problems that I was aware of. Some of these are: 1, breathing issues. So I would have a hard time climbing up a few sets of stairs just because I would be panting. 2, I had mobility issues, so I couldn't bend as much. I couldn't do like the Asian squat, and I'm Asian, so again, I think I should know how to do an Asian squat and the like. 3, I had like joint pains, so usually it's my knees but also a bit of my arms. Like when I started exercising, these shoulders would crunch so much. 4, my psoriasis. So obesity isn't really the cause of psoriasis, but it can aggravate it, and I've really seen how it aggravated it because when I lost the weight, my psoriasis has greatly improved as well. And of course, my irregular period. So this was the one that I was greatly scared of because I would be skipping 2 months or 6 months at the longest when I was at my heaviest. So yeah, and now I'm back to normal just simply by losing the weight. Of course, everybody is different, but that is my testimony and my own personal experience. Still, at that time, because I didn't know any better, I brushed all these problems under the rug. I didn't want to think of them, and I just thought these were all just minor problems that I could live with for the rest of my life. What's more is that the movement promotes and validates that, hey, nothing is wrong with you at all, that you can still do as much as a thin person can, and in some cases that's true, but it's not true in everything. You will have mobility issues in the least, okay? And them validating that, even though it's obviously not based on facts, it's just a pure lie, is very, very bad. Another one why it's more feelings over facts is because I'm fine, the world is wrong. Now, it's true that there are really fatphobic people out there, and shame on them, but there are also people out there who care enough for you to tell you what is up. I remember when I was still deep into the fat positivity movement that whenever someone would comment on my weight or at least insinuate something related to my weight or to my eating habits and whatnot, I would get defensive or get angry with them, even though in hindsight what they were telling me was actually helpful advice. They were trying to help me of a problem that was destroying me, and I was just denying myself from seeing. There's a difference between hate and criticism, and because I was so deep in that fat mentality, I just lumped all of them as hate and as fat phobia and the like. Recalling the advices my sister would give me and finally applying them when I started losing weight, I really saw the wisdom in her words and practices, and it really helped me in my weight loss journey. So I only listened and found those advice helpful once I removed that mindset of seeing everyone who commented on my weight and my eating habits as negative, fat phobic, and just overall bad. Third, Diets don't work. They do. They work. Fad diets don't work. But if you want something for the long term, you can definitely make a plan for yourself that's sustainable for your own lifestyle. I think for the most part, the word diet has been misused and misunderstood, and the fat positivity movement is making use of that to their advantage. A diet is simply the kinds of foods that you partake in your everyday life. It doesn't necessarily have to be extreme or like a fad diet, right? If you just plan it right, it will work. It is hard, I'm not denying that, and maybe that's why a lot of diets fail, but it is possible. For the longest time, it was this that really held me back from trying, because I thought to myself, and that's what they want you to think, is that, well, if 95% of the time it will fail, what are the chances that I'm part of that 5%? Why should I try if at the end I'd still end up failing? So that really held me back. And now that I've lost the weight, I've seen how much I could have done if I just gotten away with that kind of mindset. Sure, I'm not strict every day, but every time I fall off the wagon, I always get back up and try my best and just do better and just take it one step at a time. Second, I just find that the movement is covering a problem and not really resolving it. They believe in being confident in your own skin, and there's nothing wrong with that. I believe in that 100%. You should be confident in your skin in whatever shape, way, or form, but not in expense of hiding the insecurities you have deep inside. For example, from experience, I would project being outwardly confident, but when I would be alone, I couldn't even face myself in the mirror naked. Instead of using that time to try and know myself, I pushed and tried to project a confident persona just because I wanted to prove a point that being fat is great, being fat is amazing, that being fat is just like everybody else. And for the most part, what we truly want is just to be respected and just to be accepted, but not necessarily what these fat positive people are doing. Like, we have to overly praise them or overly glorify them. Yeah, I think that's too much already. Of course, if you're truly happy in being, fat and healthy or whatever, then that's good. That's 100% valid. It's your body, it's your life, it's your mentality. But what I'm saying is that you shouldn't feign confidence if deep down you truly aren't happy with where you are at. And this connects to my third and final point. There's nothing positive about the fat positivity movement. It's actually quite negative. One, they tell you to eat whatever the frick you want, and to be honest, that's not really the road to recovery, that's the road to destruction. Too much or too little of anything can really do you no good. Second, they breed so much hate. In connection to my earlier point, because I was deeply insecure while projecting like this confident facade, I would just end up hating on other people. And I mean people who weren't the same size or body as mine. I hated all thin people because in my head, I would think,
oh, they're promoting unrealistic standards. They're in the wrong and vain people. They're probably fat-phobic. They probably couldn't take a curvy girl like me.
Like, looking back at it now, that kind of mindset just really reinforced how insecure I truly was. Because if I was truly confident, I wouldn't care if I was beside a thin person or if I was beside a fat person or whatever. I wouldn't care because I don't know these people and they can live however they wanted to live. And that's the kind of mindset I have now. Of course, I'm not saying that I'm 100% not insecure with myself. I still do have insecurities as human beings. We still compare ourselves to others, but it's not hateful. Unlike how I used to think. I used to hate on everyone that was thin. And for the most part, that kind of thinking is backed up by the fat positivity movement. They're not afraid to skinny shame someone, but if they are fat shamed or if someone comments on their weight or beliefs in any way, they hate on them, they trample on them, they say all the bad things that they could think of to ruin this person, even though that person was just saying their opinion on their movements. So really, they're just breeding a lot of negativity and hate towards other people who don't think and look like them. Third, they really do take a lot of space because body positivity was supposed to be about being positive in your body in whatever shape or form, be that, you know, persons with disabilities, burn victims, and the like. But now it just seems synonymous to being fat positive, and they've really taken over Tess Holiday as the queen, that throne. Even for me, even though I still want to be part of it because I was previously fat and I could sympathize with a lot of fat people, they don't allow me to have a voice because now I'm thin or in a thinner body. So I'm not or couldn't be part of the movement anymore. So they just completely shun away ex-fats, as they call it. And where is my space, you know? What if I can't completely still mentally be like thinking as a thin person and the like? You know, what about thin people? Where is the body positivity for them? Because I'm pretty sure they still have insecurities. How about those with disabilities? How about the burn victims and the like? Where are their spaces? And again, is what I've said, the body positivity movement doesn't leave room for criticism. It's either you're with them or they don't know you. Overall, it just made me realize now how destructive the whole movement was, because at the end of the day, they took a lot of agency away from us. It was always everyone's fault. We didn't have any personal responsibility. But if you really think about it, who was putting food in my mouth? Who was hating on other people and refusing to better themselves? Who was not listening to what her own body was saying, but instead trying to project a confident persona just to prove a certain point, even though technically she knows that that point is moot? It was when I started exercising and therefore using my agency to push my body and see my limits, did I realize just how much I lost from believing in them for so long. I lost that inner voice of reason. I lost time to know myself more. For me, the empowerment I thought I felt was just a shabby excuse to not try. In a way, it was a form of defensive resignation, and like a proud person who just didn't know how to shut up even if their point was wrong from the start. In conclusion, one of the main reasons why it took me so long to start my weight loss journey was because I was pulled in and so deep into the fat positivity movement. They held me back a lot by making me believe all these lies that at the end of the day ended up almost destroying me. It was when I started exercising and slowly pulled myself away from that movement that I see them for what they truly were. They are truly one of the most negative groups I've come across with, and I wish for you guys to know better and do better. As impressionable teens and young girls, it's very easy for us to fall in communities that we feel can relate to us the most or can shelter us from a lot of our insecurities. But I implore you guys to know better and see through these lies, because at the end of the day, even though you think they're trying to help you, no, they're just trying to destroy you and feed their ego and feed their own insecurities. I truly believe that we should respect everyone. Everyone has a place in this world, but not in exchange of destroying a lot of other people's rights to be in this world as well. Be truly happy and confident in whatever form that may look for you, and if you need to push harder to reach that goal, do it. No one's stopping you. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much guys for watching. I know this is a bit long, but don't forget to like, subscribe, and do share your stories down below. What do you think of the fat positivity movement? What has your experience been like? How are you right now? And let's start a conversation. Thank you so much guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!